The Trojan War, waged by the Greeks against the city of Troy, was one of the most important and well-known events in Greek mythology. It has been mentioned in several works of literature in ancient Greece, one of the main sources of the event being Homer's Iliad. Many believe that the war originated with the elopement of Helen, the Spartan queen, with Paris, the Trojan prince. However, while this may have been the match that lit the flame, the roots of the Trojan War go back to the wedding of Thetis and Peleus, and a quarrel between the three famous Greek goddesses. The story begins with a love contest between the gods of Olympus. The several years before the Trojan War began, Poseidon, the gods of the seas, and Zeus, the king of the gods, both fell in love with a sea nymph called Thetis. They both wanted to marry her, but according to a prophecy, the son of Thetis by either Zeus or Poseidon would be a prince much stronger than his own father. He would own a weapon that would be far more powerful than Zeus' thunderbolt or Poseidon's trident, and would someday overthrow his father. Terrified at hearing this, Zeus had Thetis marry Peleus, a mortal, instead. Peleus and Thetis had a large wedding and invited many important gods and goddesses to their event. In the contest and Paris' judgment, Eris, the goddess of strife and discord, was outraged when she found that she wasn't invited to Peleus and Thetis' wedding. She was sent away at the gates, so to take revenge, she threw a golden apple to the fairest goddess present. All three goddesses, Aphrodite, Athena, and Hera, tried to claim the apple and quarreled over it until Zeus acted as mediator and had the Trojan prince Paris settle the problem. He would decide who was the fairest of them all. The goddess offered Paris gifts, each one hoping that he would choose her as the fairest. Paris was interested in what Aphrodite offered him, Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose Aphrodite as the fairest of goddesses, not realizing that Helen was already married to the Spartan king, Menelaus. Paris went to Sparta to find Helen, and when Cupid shot her with an arrow, she fell in love with Paris. Together, the two eloped to Troy. The start of the Trojan War. When Menelaus discovered that Helen had left with the Trojan prince, he was outraged and persuaded Agamemnon, his brother, to help him find her, and 1,000 ships were launched to lay siege to the city of Troy and bring Helen back to Sparta. Thus, it was the Helen's face launched 1,000 ships. The gods of Olympus took sides, intervening and assisting during the events of the war. Hera and Athena, who bore grudges against Paris for choosing Aphrodite, sided with the Greeks. Poseidon also chooses to assist the Greeks. However, Aphrodite took the side of the Trojans along with Artemis and Apollo. Zeus claimed that he would remain neutral, but he secretly favored the Trojans. With the favor of the gods on either side, the war was bloody and long. The Greek army raided the Trojans' allies, conquering city after city. Achilles conquered 12 islands and 11 cities during the Trojan War. The Greeks continued to besiege the city of Troy for 9 years until its walls held firm. The city's walls were immensely strong and were said to have been built by Apollo and Poseidon, who had to serve Laomedon, the Trojan king, for a year because of an impious act on their part. Helen's husband Menelaus offered to fight Prince Paris so that the issue of the war could be settled between the two. Paris agreed, but Menelaus was too strong for him and very nearly killed him in the first few minutes of the fight. Menelaus grabbed Paris by his helmet, but before he could do anything more, the goddess Aphrodite intervened. She covered him in a thick mist, spiriting him back to the safety of his bedroom. In the 10th year of war, Odysseus came up with the idea of building a large wooden horse with a compartment in its belly, large enough to hold several heroes. Once it was built, the Greeks left it in the Trojan beach with one of their men, Sinon, and they pretended to sail away. When the Trojans found Sinon and the wooden horse, he told them that the Greeks had surrendered and left the horse as an offering for the goddess Athena. The Trojans wheeled this horse in their city and celebrated their victory. At night, the Greeks climbed out of the horse and opened the gates of Troy for the rest of the army. The city of Troy was sacked and population was either enslaved or slaughtered. Menelaus took Helen back to Sparta. Troy was burned to the ground, and with it ended the Trojan War. The Trojan War remains one of the most important events of Greek history, and one that has inspired countless classical works across the centuries. The stories of the Trojan War demonstrate ingenuity, bravery, courage, love, lust, betrayal, and the supernatural forces of the gods.